3, 2, 1. We're live, everybody.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
And here we is, live again. Look at the background. David keeps doing the backgrounds and making them beautiful like that.
I like this one. This is a crimson red, the bloody red.
Bloody red for our topic today, which is going to be very exciting.
I hope so. What are you smoking, sir?
Today I'm just smoking a Winston Churchill Davidoff. Just a normal, not after hours, just a nice Davidoff. It's going to be a good, clean smoke for the whole show, and it's just one of those nice little shows. You're smoking one of my favorites, though.
I wonder if you can get it on camera. The Partagas.
Watch this. There you go.
There we go. That's a
Partagas.
56 ring gauge. Nice. One of my favorite brands. Partagas. One of everyone's favorite brands. Deep, rich, but the ring gauge on this should give it a nice smoky smoke is what I mean. Is I get a lot of smoke out of it. Having said that, I don't think I've cut this one the best cut ever because I'm having to have a little bit of drag on it. It might be slightly bit dense. Let's see if it opens up.
Did you V it or did you just guillotine it?
I very rarely V a cigar. Very rarely. I guillotine straight across the chop shop.
So do I.
Can show you my guillotine. It is that one.
Oh, very nice. It's the same one my Moyle used when he got a hold of me. Okay, got it.
It's the very same one.
Yes.
We had to sterilize it first, obviously.
For the cigars, yes.
Now, since it's continuously Cuban cigars as far as I'm concerned, for all sorts of reasons, I'm pairing it with some Cuban rum.
Wow.
Eminente Ron de Cuba. Now, I had this a while ago, and I bought this recently from a shop in North London.
Right.
I'm enjoying this one. I'm not enjoying this one primarily because the alligator skin pattern on the bottle lends itself to a higher experience of rum drinking. I feel that it adds to the flavor and the anticipation of the rum inside. I'm like that. I'm very shallow. I go for the
I was just gonna say, he's like, it's a pretty bottle.
Prettier perfume bottles, the prettier alcohol bottle.
My perfume or my man cologne is Chanel Sport, and it comes in a very normal bottle, so it's not like So
no, you're rich and deep inside. I am shallow and totally nothing inside.
He's like, I'm just a shallow, vain person. That's it. We're good. So okay,
but I own up.
Good to know. So
on that note,
we're going to discuss our Bond villains, or not our Bond villains. We're going to discuss gangsters throughout history.
Criminals throughout history. And by God, I have had, as usual, I rack my brain to try and make a sort of a serious intellectual dent in our conversations. But I get carried away. Oh, by the way, very, very important. Since we're starting this video, I have noticed there's a hell of a lot of people coming back and watching these videos again and again and again. And for those people, it would be great if you subscribe to the channel and start liking and commenting stuff. Yeah. Because I think we reply to absolutely everything and anything, wherever it is on social media.
We do.
For those who are new here, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If it's good, if it's total crap and bullshit. And if it is total crap and bullshit, come watch more Total Crap and Bullshit. That might be the new name of the program going on eventually.
I like that. What's your show called? Total Crap and Bullshit. Congratulations. There you go. I like it. And by the way, I am drinking a 25-year-old Macallan today. So I just figured.
The age has gone up. I've noticed you're going for a slightly more mature crowd.
Well, yes, only because of who I selected. I figured I have to give them the respect that they need for the show. Since my whole theme is really gangsters and criminals that really made a dent in the world that we still remember today.
Who's going first? You or me?
Either or. I'm flexible.
I put my silk suit on.
You did. I wore my Bond villain suit. So.
In order to pay some very slight homage or homage to my first criminal. But
yes,
5 minutes before this video started, I realized that we may have mentioned this person before. So I'm in a little bit of
you can mention him again.
I'd like to talk about him. I'm going to honorable mention him because that's why I put the suit on.
Okay.
I'm going to honorable mention, but this is not my first guest. I'm going to come up with my first guest thereafter. If I put a silk suit on, who is it do you think I was going to mention?
All right. Now, the criminals we're going to talk about are all nonfiction, right? So there's no...
no, can be fiction. No.
See... So, okay, if it can be fiction, that gives me a wider thing. So for you, it's going to be Scutamucci or Al Capone or somebody like that, I'm thinking, for your silk suit.
Yes, along the long line. So my honorable mention has to go to the Teflon Don, Gotti.
Oh, Gotti,
because
sure.
What I enjoy about Gotti is not necessarily the style. It's that
the style.
Fuck everyone attitude. But with a smile on his face. I love that. I wish I could, in some way, capture that, put it in a bottle, drink it, and be that. But I can't. So until then, I'll have to admire that aspect, not the criminality aspect, that aspect of that criminal, that sort of devil may care. Having said that, having got the suit out of the way, having got Gotti out of the way, my first criminal is perhaps the one to end all criminals.
Really? The Joker? No.
It's got to be, well, it's a real life one. It's a non-fiction one. It's got to be Pablo Escobar.
He was on my list. Yes, Pablo Escobar. He's the one who really made cocaine a business.
It got people like you and me through life a little bit.
I never. Here's just really funny. I've never done a drug in my life, so I've only heard about them. And everybody looks at me like, seriously? And one of my friends at university used to say, if Steve goes on cocaine or anything, he'll be into the next millennia. So it was easier. Scotch and cigars were my drug of choice. So
you're this way without drugs. Imagine what you would be like on drugs.
Oh my God. I'd be what's that song, Easy Lover? I'd be an easy lover. There you go. So
arguably, are these a form of drug? Arguably, are they? What do you say? What do you say on to that?
Not cigars, cigarettes, yes, because cigarettes are addictive because of the nicotine and all the chemicals they put in. And I think what people forget about a cigar is this is nothing more than a tobacco leaf that's rolled.
It's a totally natural product.
Yeah. So yeah, it's and according to a study in 2020 or 2021 that was in the Financial Times, that was written by, it was either Oxford or one of those snuffy schools. They said pure tobacco. So everyone listen, not cigarettes, but pure tobacco, not vaping, but pure tobacco, which is a cigar. It helps with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
There you go. And as far as I know, and this may be a myth, that Cuban tobacco leaves, the only thing they put on Cuban tobacco leaves is horse shit, which is why you get that richness and depth of horse shit coming through when you smoke these cigars. Now, that's jokes aside, what you do is get that deeper, slightly complex
flavor,
aroma. In the same way that people who drink high-end coffees, they drink Kopi Luwak. Yeah. That goes through not a monkey, but it's some sort of not a marsupial, but some sort of rodent.
The little poop.
Yeah, fruit bats. Are they fruit bats? Are they something like fruit? No,
something like that. Yeah. So, but cigars, even the Davidoffs, the New World and the Dominic, I don't think they do anything with it. I think they're just there. And
now, in between of all of this, you didn't ask me why Pablo Escobar. I want to know why you would have picked Pablo Escobar, and I'll tell you why I picked Pablo Escobar.
I picked Pablo Escobar when he was on my list because he, other than like an Al Capone type, in our generation, he made being a criminal, unfortunately, glamorous and was a billionaire many times over. He was like a Robin Hood. He gave back. Like he would build things up and do schools and do this and that. Now, Those are the positives. You look at the negatives where he killed people and invaded the city and blah, blah. That's a different story. But he just, he was sort of like, he modernized criminality. Like Al Capone modernized criminality for his time, Pablo Escobar modernized criminality for his time.
He hid on top of the table.
Yeah. He goes, here I am, I'm right here. Yeah.
Come and get me.
And he ran for president. So, I mean, you know.
And no more defiance, no greater defiance was seen, as far as I'm concerned, with Pablo Escobar than the police, the jail snapshot of that smile, smiling Pablo, that sort of like, come and get me. Yeah. He obviously, most probably, had despicable deeds under his fingernails.
Oh, I'm sure.
Having said that, we're not here to glamorize criminals necessarily. We're here more of a sort of an interest to see, you know, if you can pull out certain characteristics and have dinner with people like this, what would you see and why would you have them at the table? And I think that's what that's the only reason I say this. We're not here to glamorize people like that. That's but you can see good qualities even in shit people, and in really good people you can see shit qualities. That's just the way life works.
That's, as you say, that's the real world. Welcome to our world.
I'm a total knob, but as you know, I'm a bigger knob than that.
Well, you know, you're shallow. you buy pretty bottles of, you know, the bottle tastes, the whiskey tastes better in a pretty bottle. So, you know, what can I tell you? So,
but it does, doesn't it? Why? Otherwise, all whiskey would have come in the same bottle. It would come in like standardized.
When I drink my Centauro, it comes in a little round bottle. It's like whatever. Now, granted, I'm a bit of a snob and a knob to a point. I have the limited edition Centauros. I have 50-year-old Macallan. I have the 40-year-old. I have a 50-year-old. I guess I have Glen Fargus. That's 50 years old or 40 years old. I mean, I do like my older Scotch.
Is that the lower cellar or the upper cellar?
Yes. I keep them in both because I'm too lazy to walk sometimes. So it works out well.
No, you've got that little button that you press and the rack brings that particular whiskey along to you.
Actually, I have a little button and then the gentleman's gentleman brings it to me. Because God forbid I should have to get out of my chair. You know, I have standards. So it works out well. So, but I'm just saying, so it's one of those things. So it's not so much the bottle. Like I remember when I got my first bottle of 50-year-old, the latest one is like beautiful and the design is gorgeous and blah, blah, blah. And it comes in this case and it's a thing and it's oh my God, it's a lilac cork. And I'm like, Jesus, I just want to drink the Scotch. I mean,
but just like everything else, it's part of the enjoyment, part of the sort of collecting, whether it's bottles or art or it titillates your senses before you have a drink. Everything adds to the fun, you know that, right?
That is very true. But
we all wear different suits, we all wear different clothes. Underneath, essentially, we're all the same. We do it to promote ourselves, and that's okay for products as well, isn't it?
I agree with you, but like art's different for me. Like I buy art because I like it. I don't buy art or an artifact because it'll make me money. I'm fortunate that they, I guess, will make me money. But if I see an artwork that I like, whether it's a sculpture or a painting or whatever, or an artifact, and I go, wow, that like it touches me. Then I want to own it. Then I'm like, I want that. Then I buy it. But I don't, like a lot of people will buy Scotch or cigars or whatever, and they'll buy a brand because it's a status symbol for them. And for me, I don't need status symbol. I just need it for my enjoyment. So
you are the status symbol in your own right.
Yeah, pretty much. So as you
are the person that speaks for himself.
Yeah, which is the way to be, right? I mean, I don't need something to speak for me. So, you know, whether it's, as we pointed out a couple of shows ago, whether it's a watch, whether it's a car, whether it's however I travel, I do it because that's how I want to do it. And no one needs to know. And it's okay. And one of my friends says, when we go out, like we go out casual, and I'm in a pair of shorts and a shirt, he's like, dude, they're going to give you money. They're going to think you're homeless. I'm like, it's okay. I'm good. I'm like, I don't need to show off for anybody. But when I have to put, as you saw, when I was in New York and I have to dress up like a real investment banker, I put my real clothes on, and that's the way it works. And then I have my smoking jacket, which is my Mandarin. So there you go. So
very good.
Made by little Oriental men and women. So there you have it.
So my round one opening move, Pablo Escobar.
Okay.
I moved the king one space. What's your move?
Yeah, I think you got to get checkmate, pal. So Oh, this is like this. This is my guy. My guy is like almost irrelevant.
Clue.
It's the best. It's what happens there stays there.
Happens there's Las Vegas.
And who invented Las Vegas?
Bugsy Siegel.
Benjamin Siegel. So
oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Goodness. Your great grandfather.
My great grandfather, Benjamin Siegel, is who I have as my number one, if you will, for lack of a better term, criminal. I have read many of stories about him, biographies and whatnot. Fascinating guy. Not like the movies that Warren Beatty, when they did the movie about him called Bugsy, but a fascinating guy. And off the air, and I think I told you this, I'll tell a little bit of this. But when I was 18 or 19, my mom sent myself and a friend of mine to Vegas for like our summer break.
Yep.
And we checked into where the Hilton Flamingo, and the bellman who grabbed our luggage looked at my name and he said, "Are you a relation?" Now, I'm an idiot at 18. I don't know what this means. I go, "I guess." So he goes to figure out what's going on, and he says, "You're in the wrong room." Now, my mom was a muckety muck at American Express, right? So she booked, like for me and my buddy, she literally just booked us a room with 2 beds, right? Nothing fancy, boom. And the bellman looks at this. This bellman had to be 100. And he was like, "No, this is the wrong room." And I'm like, "Okay." And I was like, I think my buddy's like, "Should we call your mom?" And the bellman goes, No, I have it. A couple minutes later, the general manager comes out and he apologizes. And I'm like, "What?" And I knew he's the general manager because he gave me his card. And I'm like, "Why is everyone apologizing to us?" Like,
because they don't want to get whacked and be left in the desert by your
right. And so I'm like, I don't understand. So then what we found out is they upgraded us. And when I mean upgrade, they upgraded us to like an upgrade, which was unbelievable. And then the bellman said to us, "What are you doing?" We're there for like 4 or 5 days. And I said, "Oh, we're going to go see some shows." And it's like, we're kids. We don't know. He says, "May I take you around?" And I'll tell the rest of that story to you off air. So we spent a week in Vegas hearing and meeting guys that are no longer around, seeing shows and going through doors and getting treated like royalty, because it was still the boys who owned it. And it was just before corporate came in. So it was a very interesting time to go there and hear stories about Benjamin Siegel and all these other people and the Rat Pack and I was like, wow. And so
you're missing out a very important part of the story. Have you at some stage established if you are or not related?
I'm going to say, as far as I know, I was going to say no comment just to make it mysterious. People are like, "Oh my God." But no, as far as I know, we are not a relation. Now, he could be a distant cousin, but I don't know because I never really asked my grandparents about that. And I realized when everybody came over from the old world, we spelled our last name differently, and now we spell it like him. And I was like, this is interesting. So it was never really brought up, but I did call my dad from the hotel and I said, "I got a question." I said, and I told him the story, and he said, "They think you're related." I'm like, "Okay." And then I was like, "So," and he goes, "Nah, we're good. Have a good day." And he hung up the phone, and then that was it. So he said, "Enjoy your week." And I enjoyed my week. So we have a lot of interesting stories from that week, but that we'll do off the air. But anyway, so I picked Benjamin Siegel because today, even though Pablo made what he made, but without Benjamin Siegel, you have no Las Vegas. And
I've never been to Las Vegas. I would love to go to Vegas.
Well, just think of a more sinful Dubai.
I can't think of anything more.
Yeah, there you go. It's just literally, it used to be a little more deviant. And then when they came in and cleaned it up for the kids, kind of like what they did with Times Square in New York, it became more family friendly. But it still has a deviant side if you want to find it. I know that there's where we stay, we smoke Scotch and cigars in the VIP lounge, and nobody cares. Like, we have our Scotch, but they don't care. I remember we were at the MGM, and I stayed with a friend of mine who's a whale. And I don't mean by size, I mean by gambling. And so we had a butler, and we had one of the, the condos in the sky, which is like 10,000 square feet, 2 stories, 4-bedroom. And I'm
the
like,
Hangover style.
Yeah, the Hangover, and they made the Hangover one look like it was cheap. So I lit a cigar, and he goes, "Oh, we're gonna go see Celine Dion or whatever it was." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And our butler looks at us, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I just lit my cigar," and his little smirk comes on his face, and he says, "You're on the VIP floor, sir. You can go in. You're going into a private elevator.
You can do what you want."
He said, "You, of course, may smoke your cigar in the elevator." I was like, "I love this place."
Actually, you know what? Probably as a kid, to be very honest with you, Las Vegas came into my brain, or came into my sort of vision, because of Elvis.
Ah, sure.
My grandparents in the late 60s or early 70s actually saw Elvis perform in Vegas.
Nice.
Which, for me, it's just remarkable to think that.
Yeah.
But coming back to can I say Bugsy Siegel?
Sure.
Portrayed as Mo Green in Godfather 2.
Yes.
Got shot in the eye.
Yeah.
Great comeback. But can I say something without being up myself?
Sure.
Pablo.
Yeah. Okay.
Are they head to head? Are they? One is slightly.
I think if you said to somebody what has more impact on society today, cocaine or Vegas?
Okay.
I think it's sort of
well,
like
has an ongoing effect. Las Vegas.
Because Las Vegas is, there's a lot of kids that have Bugsy Siegel to thank that they were even born. So there's a whole thing. But yeah, so he was the first one that literally popped into my mind. I was like, who's somebody that's there's only one guy, like Bugsy Siegel, or Benjamin Siegel as he liked to be called. And then he got gunned down in his house in Beverly Hills.
Did he? I did.
He was assassinated.
Part of the history is beyond me.
Yeah. He was assassinated because there was a discrepancy with the accounting and a few other things.
I might do a Wikipedia look up.
Yeah.
After this.
Yeah.
Round two.
Round two.
A very, very all-round criminal, but it's got to come from fiction, as far as I'm concerned. I purposely want to mix up reality and fantasy.
Okay.
I've gone for someone. In fact, I even have a little picture lying around in this cigar lounge.
Is this?
Of someone who started off with all the good intentions in the world and ended up as a total nutball villain. In my book, a likable villain, but everyone has their thing. Defiant to the end, which is what I like. That's my theme. Defiant to the end.
Okay.
Pablo, defiant to the end. Fighting for the rooftops, getting gunned down.
Yeah.
This one, defiant to the end. There may even be the mildest of resemblances between me and this person. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yeah. I am. Oh, the guy from Breaking Bad.
Walter White.
Okay.
Breaking Bad.
Very nice.
The high school chemistry teacher turned meth cooker.
Okay.
I so enjoyed that drama, and I so enjoyed that follow-on drama, Better Call Saul. I rank them as the best, most interesting, most enjoyable dramas I have watched. Probably the best ones. I can't get enough of them.
All right.
Walter White. If you haven't seen Breaking Bad, everyone. Breaking Bad, full of villains. There's no end of villains. There's no end of them.
Right.
So I could have taken my pick. I had to go for Walter White because
I
think he's not the best villain.
Right.
I think he's the most defiant villain in the whole series because just like all the other villains, slightly more, he kind of dies with a smile on his face.
Gotcha.
He's kind of in a happy space. Once again, that defiancy, the reason I thought of the villain theme, for this week was actually more than the villain theme. It was defiance.
You know, okay.
Sticking it up to
giving it to the man, as they say.
Giving it to
the man.
Giving it to the man. I have to say in a British accent. Giving it to the gentleman.
Oh, the gentleman, yes. So that's a 1960s, like, you know, like give it to the
man.
Stick it to the man.
Being the state, the powers at play, the person in charge, the people in charge.
There you go. Stick it to the man. Breaking Bad. I went with all nonfiction. So mine are like I have honorable mentions, of course. Like I have Bonnie and Clyde as an honorable mention, of course. Even Al Capone would be an honorable mention. But my last two are like and of Bugsy Siegel or Benjamin Siegel being Jewish, my number two is another Jew. And without him, Cuba wouldn't be Cuba, Vegas wouldn't be Vegas, and the modern mob would not even exist.
Surely not Dr. Henry Kissinger.
No, very good guess. Not Donald Trump, not him. But yeah. No.
You moment you said Cuba, I thought Bear Pigs. Bear Pigs came to my head. Dr. Henry Kissinger was there. So there's an interesting villain that you picked out, but it's not.
But it's not. But this person is Myer Lansky.
Ooh.
A little Jewish theme going on.
You're pulling them out, aren't you? You're really going for the intellectual sack on these ones.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're going to be, in my mind, if you're going to be a criminal, you have to be really smart. Because I don't mean the guy who like robs a bank, and I don't mean the guy who's going to steal some art, because that's nice, but you have to do it in the darkness. I want a criminal. You're going for
thinking man's villain. You're a thinking man's villain.
Yeah. So Myer Lansky, he ran the books for the mob, and he's the one that was Benjamin Siegel's friend and gave him the money or loaned him the money to build Vegas.
Was he portrayed in
Bugsy?
He was in Bugsy Siegel. He was in Bugsy. He was portrayed by.
What's the other mob movie with Sean Connery and Kevin Costner? Untouchables. Was he in the Untouchables? Was he portrayed in the Untouchables? No,
it was in the Untouchables. That was Lucky Luciano.
No, but he had an accountant, and I thought this was
maybe, but I don't remember him in that. I mean, I've read books on Myer Lansky, and I was like, wow, this guy was like really smart, and he grew up with like Luciano. They were all kids, like in Brooklyn, so
everyone knows everyone.
Yeah, that's how it works. So I thought Myer Lansky would be a very interesting person to sit and have a cigar and scotch with, kind of like with Benjamin Siegel, like, you know, tell us your dream of the desert, and then have Myer tell us what he did. It's a beauty.
This is very, very interesting, because last week when we ended the show, we were contemplating the criminals that we would pick. You seem to be going for the biggest criminals in the world, but actually you've come down to the intelligent ones.
Yes.
And I've gone for the defiant ones. That's just something about our characters, by the way. Right. You're the sort of the very savvy banker that has worked it out before he's gone into battle.
Yes.
If we can use the art of
the art of war. Sun Tzu's The Art of War, sure.
Play the battle in your head before you've got there and have it already won.
Yeah.
I'm more of I've lost the battle, but I'm going to smile at the end of it.
Yes, and I'm very much as people that know me, they call it game theory today. We used to just call it the what if game. So even when I'm doing a deal or when I would run a company, in my mind, I would be like, what if? And I would play out. It's like playing Go. Because people go, I play chess. I'm like, yeah, a child can play chess. I play Go, which is the Chinese game, which has like 5,000 moves for every one move, where chess has like, they'll say 30 moves for every one move. So I like to play Go. So I play the what if game.
Dangerous.
I am very much someone who thinks through everything. And people that ran companies or have done deals with they'll be like, what about? I'm like, yeah, this is what'll happen. And we literally play out every scenario. So when it happens, I'm like, yeah, okay, we're good. Like there's no, like we're not surprised. It's like, yeah, okay, we're fine. We'll make it.
Round 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or as someone else would say, read between the lines.
Ooh, how exciting! Well, yeah, you got your.
Not you. It's not not for you.
Yeah.
But,
No, I understand. Sure.
Far too respectful of you. Defiance to the end.
Okay.
Say hello to my little friend.
Oh yes, Al Pacino as
Tony Montana.
Yeah.
Scarface.
Yeah, Scarface.
Now, apart from the fact that Scarface is sort of embedded in criminal mythology and media and movies and fandom,
right?
I have been to the room where the bathtub scene happened with the chainsaw.
Oh, really?
Miami Beach, right next to the Beacon Hotel. That place downstairs is a Johnny Rockets now.
Okay.
And upstairs, it's an aerobic studio.
Of course.
And that room is part of an aerobic studio. I've been there, and you can still see the round windows. I don't know how well you know the Scarface.
I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
Scarface is like stuck in my brain.
Every few years it comes on, or it's like on Netflix or HBO, and I watch it because it's still a classic. So,
And it was Scarface was a total washout when it came. Well, it was critically panned, too violent, all that kind of stuff. But it's matured into a spectacular. I mean, really, really. I mean, try dragging me out of the 80s. I'm the last person to be dragged out of the 80s. So I'm stuck in whatever it is. It was 1982, 83. That's my recollection. Scarface 82, 83, 84, something like that. And the cars, the fashion, the Giorgio Moroder soundtrack, very 80s, very synth, very electronic. Miami. Who can get past Miami in the 80s? And on top of that, you got Al Pacino playing a gangster, and not any gangster, defiant gangster. I would any day. I think it's perhaps stereotypical, but I like to be stereotypical from time to time. I've got a theme of 3 gangsters who smile in the face of adversity constantly, and I'd like to think I'm like that. I'm not. I'm a complete pussy. I'm a pushover, but I would like to be that.
Gotcha. For honorable mention for Al Pacino in Devil's Advocate, where he plays the devil. That would
have been a ridiculously good villain.
That's a good villain.
Sort of tangential to that, but
we'll give that one honorable mention only because, So my last villain, it made history because if it wasn't for Bernie Madoff could not do what he did if this guy didn't invent what he did. This guy would sell you the Brooklyn Bridge many times over.
Oh, so I can take a stab?
Well, of course.
As a villain, I should take a stab.
Yeah. There you go. So who do you think
we are talking about the Italian gentleman that started all of this?
There you go. His name was?
Beginning with P and ending with I.
Yes, but his first name was?
But it's Signor Ponzi.
First, Charles Ponzi. Yes.
Charles Ponzi.
Yes.
You really are. I mean, you really have you've gone for a sort of a gold theme here of intelligent, financially astute, huge amounts of business acumen, huge amounts of thought put into this. This tells me the type of villain you would be if you were a villain. That's what it tells me. There's a psychological rubdown of this.
There you go. And I've got my space laser behind me, so that's why I wear the Mandarin jacket. So
I know. Somewhere in there, in a different dimension, you are the intelligent man's born villain. I mean, with the narrow jacket and
you keep saying that. So yeah,
I think you are. I'm trying to size you. I'm trying to size you up. And these weekly dinner, cigar, and drinks. By the way, my cigar is burning very, very slowly.
Mine's doing a beauty.
I'm enjoying obviously slightly cedary and slightly nutty, slightly cedary, slightly nutty, but that's a very classic Partagas kind of slightly leathery as well.
Right.
You are the thinking man's villain.
Yeah.
I suspect you're also hiding in plain sight.
Probably.
We've got billions buried under the backyard.
Not in the backyard, but close enough. So,
finger on the pulse of the world. Are you one of those?
Here's the bad thing. I have my finger on the pulse of everything. Before, like as you know, in the mornings when I get up, because we text each other just so everybody's aware before the show starts, and it'll like be 4 o'clock in the morning here. And I'm like, dude, I'm starting my workout. As soon as I'm done taking a shower, and I'm going to walk the dog, make some food, and then we're going to do the show. So I get up early, and I'll do my reading of papers from around the world, make a few phone calls, find out what's going on, and then I get to do my shows with my mates, and then as I joke with people, then after that I go back and do my real job. So yeah.
Papers around the world. Any British papers or any British paper you'd care to mention?
The Financial Times.
Because it's orange, because it's pinky orange in color.
And also
that's a massive selling point. Do you know how big a selling point that is?
Oh, I know. And I remember in the day before the internet, we used to get it delivered. And I remember I carried it on a plane once, and somebody's like, "What's that pink paper?" And I was like, "Seriously, you don't know the Financial Times?" So now I read it all online, and even online it's pink, which is very cute. But yeah, I read the Financial Times. I read the Wall Street Journal, of course. It's like propaganda. I read the New York Times, and then I read stuff. I read 2 or 3 papers out of the Middle East. I read 2 or 3 papers out of Europe. I'll read 2 or 3 papers out of Asia. And that pretty much gives me a feel for the day. And then I have alerts going on all day with news that happens and whatnot. So yeah. So
your various agents around the world call in. You're looking at the telex machine, seeing what's happening. Where
telex machine? What do you think? I'm a 1950s Bond villain?
You know what? I've got this lounge. This lounge is a bit of a retro thing. I've got a friend who's promised to give me a telex machine.
Oh, I love that.
He says I've got a telex machine, right? And he's never given it to me. All I want to hear, I couldn't care less what's going. I just want to hear that.
I don't think they use them anymore.
I don't use them, but I just want it sort of like ambiance, background ambiance. I'm sort of some intelligence headquarters kind of thing.
Yes. I will say that my grandfather had the old-fashioned, you see on in the movies, the old-fashioned ticker tape thing in his study in the house.
Yeah.
You know, the class they were, and he'd be like, and I'd be like,
reading it.
Yeah, reading it. And I learned how to read that. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. So for me, I'd get one of those as memorabilia, if you can find one. It doesn't have to work. A telex machine, those are the size of a car. And I remember back in the day when they were around, and then we would go to fax machines, and then all of a sudden we all have fax machines in our house. And I was like, this is going to end like off time. And I remember I told someone the story. We used to use SkyTel pagers. You're too young for this. The SkyTel pagers paged you anywhere in the world. So you'd get off an airplane, you turn it on, you'd have like 900 messages. You go to the payphone with your AT&T World card and call whoever. And now I have a mobile phone that all 12 million of my closest best friends can get a hold of me 24/7. So when I fly, even though when I fly I can make phone calls, I turn my phone off because that's my time. Me flying is my time. I'm not curing cancer. I'm not saving the planet. There's nothing that's going to happen, and whether it's a 1-hour flight or a 15-hour flight, that is going to change my life. And that's my time. I guess as a good villain.
So what are your 3 villains?
Benjamin Siegel, Myer Lansky, and Charles Ponzi.
So basically, at your dinner table, you want to plunder these 3 for intellectual insight into the world of finance, commodities, and real estate.
Yes.
You see, it's a forward-thinking person. You've actually got a table where you can sap their intellectual acumen from them.
Where we take over, my table will take over the world, and then we're going to come to your table, which is basically drug dealers.
It's on its way down.
The drug dealer. We go to the drug dealer table, and we're going to be like, all right, boys, how can we help you? So, So yeah, but I like that Tony Montana, the guy from Breaking Bad, and Pablo Escobar. I mean, that's not shabby.
They're actually all related by drugs. That was not on purpose. That part was not on purpose. I was going for pure defiance. And I guess defiance only comes in some sort of violent way. And the most violent criminals have something normally to do with drugs, or I guess arms trading, or this or that. But one way or another, drugs is sort of an underlying kind of.
But arms dealers like Agnan Khashoggi, who was the biggest arm dealers in the 80s.
That's right.
He gets honorable mention. But
whose son-in-law, Muhammad Al Fayed, fought Harrods.
Oh, that's right.
That's Agnan Khashoggi's son-in-law.
Very nice. Well, we know where he got his money from. So
we know what Harrods was bought with.
Yes. But I mean, I don't think Agnan Khashoggi was like a terrible guy. From the stories I've heard and the people that I know that knew him were just like, he was just like a guy doing it's just a business deal. You know, I don't think he did anything horrible. Where some of these other people, if you ask them if they ever killed someone, they may tell you they hurt their feelings, which probably means yes. You know what I mean? So it's a little different. So, I'm sure Benjamin Siegel wasn't an angel. Myer Lansky, I don't think did anything terrible. And I don't think Charles Ponzi did. So I think the intellectual side I like. And then if you need to have muscle, then you get the muscle.
Oh, very good. Very good. You're a poet and you didn't know it, as they say.
And as my mom would say, and your long feet show it. So there you have it. So
I'm at that point. I'm at that point.
We got next week's show?
Because I you know what, I very desperately hang on to the words, hoping for some bloody idea to come to me, and it normally comes to me just around this part of the show. I don't think these things up in advance. I just wait and watch and watch, and then where is there a little opening here where I can get that in? Can I humbly suggest, and you can overrule this,
Dude, it's your show. You can do whatever you want.
Next week's show, we went for criminals this week.
Yeah.
Next week, do-gooders.
Ooh, do-gooders. See, in my neighborhood, I was always the bad guy. I was always the cop when I was playing, with the kids. So do-gooders. Wow, that's a tough one. I don't know any do-gooders. So, I have to think through that. I gotta think what a do-gooder is.
Well, then you have to find the interesting ones. You have to find, and there will be no fiction ones here.
Okay.
No, I can think of a fiction one.
Okay.
Having said that, people who set out to do something specifically good.
So, like saving the world.
Saving the world is a big thing. A lot of people even in a small way. But people who made a notable difference, and we would find them interesting enough to have at a dinner table, because that's really the pre-qualifying part of this. There's plenty of do-gooders who like.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could care less that you did that great. I don't want to spend 5 minutes in a room with you. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got to be people in one way or another that you admire enough to get to dinner and chat with them and absorb something from them. In this particular instance, I went for defiance. I want to absorb that defiance.
You want to do that? Do 180
you seem to absorb the intellectual capital. That's what you went for. Right. So next week, do-gooders, what is it we want to absorb from them through dinner, through our interaction, cigars, drinking, and dinner, which is really the means to get people to a table. What is it we want from them? So these do-gooders, I don't think it's, as you say, I don't think it's a particularly easy topic. But nevertheless, that's what might make it interesting.
I think this will be an interesting. I have to figure out do-gooders in my mind. What kind of do-gooder do I like? You know what I mean? Like that. Do I want one that's saving the world, or do I need one that's saving something else? You know what I mean?
Saving souls. It could be saving souls.
Soul schmoles. We buy those like a dime a dozen. But animals, I like that. But that's like a Jane Goodall. But she's not. But see, I wouldn't want to hang out with Jane Goodall. I like what she does, but I wouldn't want to hang with Jane.
Well, there you go. So there's the quandary that makes this a little bit more of a. I think this is possibly a hard topic.
I mean, I have several in my mind right now that are doing good, that could be interesting to hang out with. I have to give thought if I would want to hang out with them. And in my mind, I'm like, and I mean this in the nicest sense, whether they're male or female. Do you have the balls to hang out with us? Because that's how I look at these people. Like, if they came to dinner with us, would they be like offended in the first 5 minutes, or would they be able to make the full dinner and cigars and scotch and steak and, you know, like a be there for the event?
Because you're quite savage. You're quite
Oh.
I know this. You're quite savage. So when
Yeah.
it comes to do-gooders, I suspect you'll have an allergic reaction before you have a nicer reaction.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I'm a bit like that as well. It's like do-gooding. Now, on that note, people who are overtly do-gooding, it seems there is some sort of ego involved in that. So
I agree.
I don't know what's in someone else's mind or heart. So perhaps that's an unfair comment. But I like the do-gooders.
Yeah. That are
who
quiet.
do good without necessarily making a show about it.
There you go.
That's really the fun part.
We had this dialogue a few months ago with a friend of mine, and I were talking about doing good, if you will. And she said, "Oh, I did this." I said, "Oh, whatever." And we both chuckled, and everybody was like, "But nobody knows you guys did that." And we're like, "We're good with that." I don't do good for anyone to know but me and either that person or that organization. And my premise is, when I help something or somebody or whatever out, is that if you ever tell them or you ever say anything, you can do it when I'm dead, I don't care. But while I'm alive, if you ever tell anybody I helped you, I will never help you again. It is not anybody's business what I do now. When I'm dead, you can give me all the accolades you want. I don't care.
But here's a slight problem. Do-gooders, would they smoke a cigar and have a drink with us at dinner? I mean, the three villains I came up with, the three villains you came up with, I think it's a pretty reasonable chance they'll smoke cigars with you, especially Tony Montana. My God,
my God, are you kidding?
Outsmoke me. But
I don't know. You know, it depends on the do-gooder. The problem with some of the do-gooders, in my opinion, is that they're do-gooders and they try to come off with this Puritan, look how wholesome I am and look how wonderful I am. And then behind the scenes, of course, they go to an orgy. So I'm kind of like,
I think at this dinner table, you and I would savage them all in one way or another, or at least attempt to savage them.
And because a lot of the do-gooders, like, and I'm not that they'll make the list. Like I said, you know, like Jane Goodall, love her, respect her. I think what she did is wonderful. You know, you look at like a Sister Teresa. Yeah, I could care less. I'm glad you did. I don't care. You know, even like I look at the Pope, even though he made a bad comment about fagulas, and everybody's up in arms that he made a derogatory remark about gay people. Listen, it's the Pope. He can do what he wants to do. But he's like a do-gooder, but I don't want to like have a cigar with him.
I wouldn't mind having a cigar with the Pope.
Really?
I think
it's the hat.
Dinner.
It's the hat and the shoes. I can't hang out with a guy who wears slippers. And the funny hat, it doesn't do it for me.
Italian Mafia, isn't he? Top end.
No, I don't think this one is. I think past popes were like very tied to what was going on.
I didn't mean disrespect about that, but that was a throwaway.
No. I got it. The Pope is like, they're kind of like do-gooders, and I'm like, yeah, no. And if you look throughout history, like if you look in, like, we'll say the Bible is real for whatever. There's some do-gooders in there that I'm like, maybe you'd be fun to hang out with. But then it's like, if you read more about them, I'm like, yeah, weren't that fun. So it's kind of like
this has inspired a conversation already. This is going to be I can see it. I can see you're going to have a little bit of difficulty with this one.
Well, in my mind, I have a list of 10, and as I'm going through the list of 10, I'm like, yeah, no. Like
I think I've made my first move before the game has started.
I know, I see that. So it's very cool. But I like that we went from like, the title of the show will be like World Famous Gangsters, just for fun, or criminals. We don't want YouTube to, like, you know, block us out. But I think for the do-gooders, it's going to be interesting because there's male and female, and you can go anything from, like you said, animal activists to people to the LGBT community. There's a whole list. But now there's people in the LGBT community that are do-gooders that I think I would have Scotch and Cigars with, because I think they have more balls than most do-gooders, because they really put themselves out there.
Yeah.
So there's a couple that are coming to mind where I'm like, you know, you can do. So yeah. So we'll have to say.
I'll give you an honorable mention. even before we go off the air on this one.
Sure.
Perhaps at the back of my mind, one of my favorite pop stars of the 80s was George Michael.
Yes.
And when he died, it transpired that he was a hugely charitable human being, and no one really knew this. Right. He would make huge donations anonymously.
Yeah.
And I really, apart from the fact I really enjoyed his music, and actually, my primary school, he was at my primary school 4 years before I was at that primary school. My teacher used to teach him. So it's all sorts of little thing connection. But is this, it transpired he was a hugely charitable person. I really dig that about people who go under the radar, whether it's good stuff, bad stuff. I really dig that about people. Again, that's a personality reflection and a kind of, wanting to be like that, wishing to be like that. But
I like understated.
Understated.
Like when you mentioned something a couple weeks ago, everything is understated. Now, there's some things I have that aren't understated, but then again, I don't run around and make a YouTube channel of that, and I don't put them on Instagram. Everything's for the show. But I like understated people that do things, because to me, that shows that you have the savoir-faire to be, whether it's a do-gooder or a criminal or understated.
You're talking about keeping it real.
I know, because that's a 5-year-old term, right? That's for the woke community. I don't keep anything real. I just like people that are understated. Like, I have friends that are multi-billionaires, and when we go out, as my one friend said a couple weeks ago, he said if anybody was looking at us, they would literally think they would have to buy us a bowl of soup and a cup of coffee. And we both joked about wherever we were that we were like, we could buy the block.
Humanity wins. Rather than all the accoutrements of this world.
Because it really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter because we're only here for this finite amount of time before we go to the absolute, so to speak. And so I don't need people to go, he was wonderful, but I rather think people, I have them think I'm a prick and hate me. Because then that's why I don't get new best friends, and I'm good with that. So I'd rather have that and do everything quietly and privately. And those people know, and they don't have to love me either, but then we're good. Because it's not about, no, I'm not that wonderful. We all have skeletons in our closets. We all have our egos. But as I've gotten older, I've learned I don't have to let everybody know whether I am or I'm not the smartest guy in the room or have the biggest you-know-what in the room. And that's, to me, also about doing good. No one has to know. You can build a village, Oprah, and I don't have to tell anybody that I built the village. I just build the village, and we're good.
On that note, if you are still here watching or listening to this, please like it. Please subscribe. Have a look at what we're going to talk about next week. Have a look at what we're going to be smoking next week. It will not be a Partagas next week. I've been smoking quite a lot of Partagas on these programs. I'm going to go for something a bit fun and different. If you are that interested, tune in next week as well. But do click the subscribe button, put the notification on, and it'll come up.
And I think I'm going to drink something interesting next week. Maybe I'll have to do the Glen Fargus 40 if we're going to do do-gooders. You give them a little nod.
A little toast.
If I can come up with a do-gooder. That may be tough. It may not be a big dinner table next week. We'll see. But I'm sure we'll find people.
Good program.
I'm looking forward to it. Always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Everybody, good to see all of you. Don't forget, now, really quick, not only am I podcasting wherever you listen, across the globe, Google, Amazon, Spotify, and Apple, we are now on podcasting on YouTube. So if you have
I haven't even heard of this.
Who knew? If you have the YouTube app, you can get us you can look us up at podcast, and you can either find it under the main channel or the name, and you can hear the podcast there if you don't want to see our pretty faces. And there you go. A pleasure, my friend. I will see you.
My pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Signing off.